through, the government has sought the parliament nod now for the 12,000 crore PSU Bank recapitalization. Remember, this was expected. Sapna had been highlighting it, that when President Jaitley seeks the parliament's nod for the supplementary demand, this is something that would come up. He would lay a detailed map on the PSU Bank recapitalization, and we understand now that the government has sought this nod in Parliament, and shortly we'll try and get you some more reactions on this as well. But this is the big news. I don't know if actually the expectation was that the Finance Minister might speak himself in Parliament, so we don't know if that's going to come through. But for now, at least the news flow that we're getting is that the government will be seeking this nod. Remember, PSU banks have been on a tear actually the last few days, and on this expectation that this would flow through, and in the first the first supplementary demand for 2015-16, in that it looks like the government has now sought this. Lata is with us also to take us through the impact of this news. Lata.
Okay, this is government seeking approval for a net cash outgo of 25. That's the total demand. For the recap, it's only 12,000 crores. This is priced in. I mean, we were always expecting that this is the number that will come in. Already 8,000 crores was available, 7,990 I think to be precise. And in addition, another 12,000 crores has come. This story, I think it was Sapna who broke the story long ago. First, it was expected to be 6,000 crore and 9,000 crore. So we thought it would be, almost 20,000. It would be about 18,000. Now we know it is 20,000 crores. The 12,000 crore figure did come later on. I don't see any more reason for the stocks to rise, and certainly not SBI to rise, because 12,000 crores they would need on their own. It's going to be peanuts for SBI. They would even want. They would want that, as Mr. Kannan told us earlier, I wish they tell us don't pay dividend. If we don't pay dividend and repool it into our own capital, then we don't even pay dividend tax. So the saving is even more, and of course government loses on both. But if that munificence is extended, then it will make a material difference. Otherwise, it's largely priced in. But let's ask the veterans of the industry itself. Mr. S.C. Bunse, the former chairman and managing director of Oriental Bank of Commerce, has joined in. I believe, Mr. Bunse, good afternoon. Thanks for joining. That's the number that has come. An additional 12,000 crores in addition to the 8,000 crores that was already provided for in the budget is coming as bank capital. Will you be happy?
Naturally, Lata, it's a good news for the banker, but see, there are few other initiatives that the government needs to take. First of all, the major issue is how we are going to resolve these NPAs. Although the formation of NPAs have slowed down, but still a lot of challenges are there. And one more challenge which the banks are facing now, because last year government initiated few steps to bifurcate the post of CMDs, but I think things have slowed down somewhere. So you need to see that some actions are taken on all these fronts, plus some HR issues at senior management level. Senior people are retiring, and public sector banks especially are facing huge issues at senior level, GM level, DGM level. So I think these three, four issues need to be resolved quickly.
Fair point, sir. At the moment, it's not a package, but only a recap number that we have got. But we were given to understand that there will be governance reforms also that will be announced. That's what Jayant Sinha told us yesterday. Do stay on with us. Mrs. Anshula Kant is also joining us from State Bank of India. Ma'am, what's your take on this number, 12,000 crores, in line with your expectations or in line with what you heard?
Yes, Lata, I think what we had heard was a little more than 20,000 crores. So I think this is in line with the 8,000 crores already committed by the government. We are very happy to hear of this number, and we think it will be good for the public sector banks in general.
But won't make a difference to you, right? What would be your approximate capital needs this year?
Approximate capital needs is of course a function of many things, but we would definitely expect to get a certain portion of this. And while we have plans to, that we have some plans to go to the market eventually as well. And given, where the credit growth is currently and where we are in terms of our Set 1, Tier 1 and total CAR of 12%, we feel that we are happy that this number has come in, and it has taken away some uncertainty, about what to expect.
If you were to be asked a wish list in terms of well, governance reforms, that's what Mr. Jayant Sinha said, or in terms of really package from the government, what exactly would you look for?
I agree with what has just been said. Actually, what really needs is, ultimately the recapitalization of banks or the pressure on the profitability is emanating from a lot of things which are happening in the economy on the project finance front, So unless we would really hope that some sustainable measures are taken to improve the projects which have been financed by public sector banks, that will be a big booster for the profitability and expectations on that for public sector banks and banking system as a whole.
What exactly are you expecting on that count?
No, there is no expectation as such, except that we would like certain, for example, the tariff increases, etc., which is all well known to the market.
Sorry, what is it?
These are the things which would make these various infra financing that banks have done to be more viable and more sustainable. Some of the measures which are well known to everybody, if those steps are taken, it would be a big boost for public sector banks. And of course, on the corporate governance side, the appointment of the MDs and CEOs, that is, of course, very, very critical for these large banks.
Ma'am, with this incremental money, how much would the credit growth of the industry go up by? What is the current expectation? And with 12,000 crore more coming into the bank's kitties, what would the credit growth look like for FY16 and 17?
My take is that in FY16 at least, capital for SBI in particular, capital is not the constraint for growth. And our plans for capital raising ourselves and what we are expecting from the government, we don't think that capital for us was the question as a constraint factor for growth. It is more what is happening in the economy. We are continuing to grow well on the retail, but the corporate book is very slow.
Okay. Mr. Bansal, look at the kind of numbers we have. Mrs. Kant, please stay on. Look at the kind of numbers we have. The Tier 1 capital for IOB is 7.3. Their gross NPLs in the latest quarter is 9.4%. For United Bank, the Tier 1 capital is 7.5 and the gross NPLs is 9.5. For even bigger banks, Bank of India, the bad loans or the GNPLs is 6.8% and capital is just above 8%, 8.2%. Canara Bank 8% capital adequacy and the gross loans, the latest quarter is not reported. I'm quoting from the fourth quarter, even that was almost 4%. I mean, we're looking at fairly, on the border capital adequacy. Why Union Bank? 7.5% capital adequacy and bad loans is 5.5%. You think this capital is enough? 20,000 crores? I mean, it's barely enough to even bring you to Tier 1 capital and then you have so much to provide for.
You see, Lata, this government cannot provide unlimited capital to the banks. But important thing is you need to improve the valuations of the public sector bank. And for that, all these reforms which we have been discussing for last 2 years need to be quickly undertaken so that the valuation improves, and when the bank goes to the market, then at least the prices are closer to the book value. And once it happens, most of the banks are quoting something like 0.4, 0.5 of the book value. If you can improve it to 0.75, I think a lot of money can flow in and the confidence of the general public will also improve. So this governance issue is to be resolved quickly, plus some HR issues. I think these are the major initiatives the government needs to take immediately.
Okay.
And then on infrastructure funding, there are some stress assets. I'm not talking of the NPAs. NPA resolution is one part, and then stress assets, especially these Discom, Air India. Now, here the government of India has given a guarantee in Air India. Discom, most of the Discom are guaranteed by the state government. I think these issues can be resolved quickly if the state government and the bankers sit together and resolve these pricing issues.
Okay.
So long as, because in 2012 when we introduced this FRP concept, the idea was that by 2015, the difference between the realization and the cost will be cleared, which has not happened.
No, it's not happened. Today we spoke to the NHPC gentleman, the National Hydropower Company. They have outstandings from SEBs to the tune of 1,500 crore and it is rising by the day. People are not paying. So yes, there is huge trouble over there. But let me just wind this up with one more question. You know, at least in the case of Air India and Discoms, the government is involved as an underwriter. In steel, we are given to understand that 52% of the loans have been given to companies where the EBIT is less than the interest outgo for the last 12 quarters. I mean, there is no sign of catch up, and actually landed steel prices are falling by the day. Do you think in this something extraordinary or drastic, a package necessarily has to be announced? Growth is not an answer?
Actually, the senior people in the Ministry, Reserve Bank of India and the banker need to sit together, and they should discuss project-wise with the individual promoters, and then resolve these issues, and then overall a package can be announced. Because ultimately you cannot allow this money to remain in the stress category for too long. Okay.
Well, there is some extra money coming for both MNREGA wages as well as for NHAI. That will be positive. A few more pending bills will be paid by the government. So that must be some relief for the road contracts. We already saw Hindustan Construction Company yesterday telling us that they've got some 2,600 by way of, projects stuck on, adjudication, on arbitration. That money coming in, so more money with NHAI perhaps will be relief for a lot of road contractors whose projects and whose payments are stuck more than projects with the NHAI. Your last thoughts, Mrs. Kant. This 20,000 crores, as you said and as we knew, was already known to the press. Our own reporter broke that story several weeks ago. So, no, this is not incremental good news, you would say?
No, I would definitely say it is incremental good news, because once it comes, the clarity is there. So we think it's good news, yes.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Mr. Bunse and Mrs. Kant, thank you very much.